Hi everybody, okay, let's get started. Thank you for joining today's live webinar, Get the Keys to Your Online Reputation Success. We're very excited about today's session, and the number of registrations we've seen for this webinar is certainly testament to the interest and engagement the sector has for online reputation. Now, just a small note before we get started. As I mentioned before, we do have quite a few attendees on today, so to make the webinar easier for everybody, Zoom mutes all attendees upon entry to the session, just so that there's no background noise. Now, at the bottom of Zoom, you'll find a menu tab with chat, raise hand, and Q&A buttons. Please use the chat to message the panel for any technical issues, such as sound or video you may have, and I'll be manning the chat during the whole duration of the webinar to answer back. Finally, you can use the Q&A option at any time during the session for any questions you may have, which we'll get to at the end. Now, we'll try and reply to as many questions as possible during the time we have. The webinar itself is scheduled to run for 45 minutes, and around 10 of that is allotted to questions. So with that being said, let's get introduced. My name's Chris. I work in Reputation.com UK's marketing department, and I'm the host for today's webinar. I'm joined by Anthony Gaskell and Dean Rapizzo, who are our UK Director and Operations Director. Anthony and Dean both have a wealth of knowledge when it comes to online reputation within the property sector, having been with Reputation.com for a number of years, overseeing the onboarding and ongoing success of some of the biggest brand names in the industry. So, what will we be covering today? Well, I'll soon pass over to Anthony, who will provide a short introduction to Reputation.com and the Reputation Score to those of you on today's session who may be unfamiliar with both. Anthony will then discuss how managing this space can improve both your reputation score and your ROI before he passes over to Dean. Now, Dean will then detail some ORM best practices through a three-step program property businesses should follow to improve their online reputation. And after this, Anthony will summarize today's discussion before we have some time allotted for a Q&A session. As I mentioned before, feel free to ask any questions at any point during the session via the Q&A option at the bottom of your screen. And at the end of the webinar, I'll be asking as many of them as possible to Anthony and Dean. But with that being said, I'll now pass you over to Anthony, who will introduce himself and Reputation.com.
Thanks, Chris, and good morning, and thank you to everybody joining our live webinar this morning. So let's jump into this straight away and waste no time. The question that you see on screen, I guess, is a bit of a rhetorical one, but I'm hoping it can set the scene for today's webinar and as we start to explore the importance of managing the online reputation space. So what's your reputation score? I guess if we take a second to think about this, if that question was flipped on its head and we started to consider that as perhaps what is your credit score? I think most on the line today would probably know the answer to the latter. But nonetheless, reputation, certainly for a business, when we start to think about how consumers gravitate towards your business, is probably just as important for each and every one of us on this call today, and of course for the success of our business in this age. As we start to consider that in a little bit more detail and why it's so important to think about it in such a way is reputation is simply everywhere, and it forms part of every single interaction that a customer has when it starts to consider how it gravitates towards a certain service or a certain product, in fact, that it needs to purchase from an organization. So whether that be in search, a brand-related search, perhaps, obviously for today's call, it would be property. So, you know, a property to rent or a landlord looking for someone to look after that property or a property to purchase, then absolutely stars would be front and center. Whether it be social or perhaps when we think about technology, we start to think about voice search. Again, there needs to be a way that an organization or a business is positioned to the person that's searching for that certain service. So as we start to explore through this and we start to consider how much this is influencing consumer choice, in respect of reviews, this number just continues to increase year on year. I think it just forms part naturally now of everything we do. And I think in the early days of online reputation, it was probably connected more to those industries where we were going to enjoy ourselves, perhaps going on holiday with a hotel, perhaps a restaurant for the weekend, but now property just as much, and that's what these figures are associated to. So up to 94% of reading reviews, 86% now say their decision is impacted by it. But this last statistic is probably the more interesting one for me and the most recent as well. Certainly, if we consider Google now, when a business responds to a review, Google have now pushed that response notification back to the person that's left the review. And we've seen an increase in this. We're now up to 33% of customers of a business actually taking the time to change their review when you respond. So it's just increasing the importance of making sure that you as a business is taking the time to engage with the customer, obviously first and foremost from a customer experience point of view. But then, of course, when we're thinking about how the brand's being represented online, it's just as important to ensure that your brand is being represented in such a way that the consumer or future customers can see that your business is engaged wherever the environment, wherever your existing customers has chosen to reach out to you. So super important from a statistical point of view. If we start to consider this from a search perspective on what's going on with Google, and if we think about some statistics first and foremost from a near me perspective, gone are the days now, even from a technology point of view, when when you do a search, it just gives you a blast of results. Pretty much every device that we work with now will pick up on your location. And on that basis, and also considering that we as consumers, when we search, we want something close to us, that near me side of things, so the snack pack as we call it, those three businesses that appear in a service search or a product search of a business, has more than doubled since 2016. And of course, it goes without saying, if we think about technology and mobile devices, that's pretty much where we spend most of our lives now, in the fact that 80% of those searches are completed on those devices. Now, some recent studies, and I guess if we just take stock of how our digital shopfront looks now. So if we think of our digital shopfront as Google My Business, that environment for you as an organization has become a lot richer. It's very much industry specific now. It's diverse in the way it changes, whether it be, hospitality, property, automotive. That environment is more relevant to the consumer that's searching within that business environment, and it gives them the opportunity to reach out to the business, to engage, and it's a lot more action orientated. If we think about the review environment within Google, they've become very strict. Not recently, I'd say over the last 2 years. More recently, they continue to push things out, like, for example, what we've got on screen in the fact that there's no longer the opportunity to push reviews in bulk. They want to make sure that environment is authentic, that the information that's being left there are true customers of the business, and what appears within their Google environment is a true reflection of the service and the products that are being provided by that organization. Now, I mentioned search right at the top of this slide, and that's what I wanted to focus on really. In respect of Google My Business, year on year, we see increases of the importance from a search perspective. I think we're somewhere up to about 32% now in regards to the importance of having what I called your digital shopfront. So that Google My Business on the right-hand side of search, when someone searches for your business, it's extremely important that an environment is being managed. And what I mean by that is the data that exists in that environment. So not just the simple stuff like your telephone number, your opening hours, the name of your business, but also the description of your business and the services that you offer. As you can see, the percentage that holds in regards to the ranking factors in those top three in the local pack. So when you're competing with your local competition in a certain area, it's important that you're managing that, because a huge percentage is geared towards you appearing in that top three. The final piece of the puzzle in regards to search that I've highlighted, and probably the biggest one if we think about reputation, is from a review perspective. Again, this has increased year on year. And we're now a little over 15% in regards to the impact that review signals are having in that search ranking. Of course, because it's influencing consumer choice. Of course, because it's something coming from a human being that Google can use to suggest to the person that's searching as to whether that business is good, bad, indifferent. It gives the consumer an opportunity to make a decision. So again, managing the reviews in that space. And what I mean by management is obviously first and foremost engaging with your customers and requesting feedback. And Dean will touch on some guidance on that later. But also, like I mentioned before, ensuring that you're responding to the customer and just managing that environment as a whole, really. Okay, so moving forward then, again, another rhetorical question in the presentation, but why Reputation.com? And for the purpose of today, I say it from the point of view of why Reputation.com, I guess, creating this educational platform for people to tune into, to start to understand the importance of this space, and to try to figure out the best way to manage it. But why we're creating this is we as a business, in regards to what we call online reputation, and we are the only complete platform that encompasses and helps business manage what we believe to be the entire space. As I start to elaborate on that, there's three key things, and in fact, these three key things I'd kind of endeavour to, hopefully, by the end of this presentation, make sure that everyone walks away with these three things in their mind. Now, the point of our solution, first and foremost, is to try to ensure that we're helping the businesses that we work with, and from an educational point of view, hopefully you walk away with this, is that you're found in search, okay? So we help businesses optimize in search. The second thing is, when you're optimized in search, is to ensure that you're winning customers in that environment, so that you're chosen. You are the chosen one when you're appearing in those search results. And then finally is to say that you continuously are endorsed by your customers. So this virtuous cycle just continues to spin and spin and spin, and you are playing at the most optimal level that you can within this environment. And that's what I meant when I talk about Reputation.com being the only complete platform that helps a business manage this entire space when we put it into real terms. Now, if I delve a little bit deeper into what we mean about this environment and how we support businesses. From the search perspective, on a couple of slides ago, I already mentioned the importance of this in being able to optimize in search. And the starting point for that really is how you manage your digital shopfront, which is what we have as a solution within our world, which is our listings and directories solution. And essentially, in short, that's helping you as a business manage the accuracy of your data, for which is representative of your business from an online perspective, so that when someone does search, how your business is reflected is a true representation of the services that you offer. Now, in considering winning customers when they do that search, we do it every day. So I'm hoping and I'm sure everyone can relate to this on the line. And I've already mentioned it with some of the statistics, is of course reviews, and of course how your business and brand is represented in all of those social environments is a factor on consumer choice. So being able to manage the volume of reviews, the sentiment of reviews that exist online, the commentary that's coming through from social, how you're positioning your business with the services for which it provides in a social environment is essential to managing your online reputation. The final piece of the puzzle for this landscape would be how you engage to solicit feedback that gives you deep operational insight that allows you to continuously improve customer experience through some form of survey tool. And then the final piece of the puzzle, which we call Customer Experience Manager, is of course how the business sets itself up for success when a customer can engage with your organization in so many different environments. And what I mean by that, it could be that someone passes comments on a review site, and there's many of those connected to the property industry. Of course, Google and Facebook spans across everything, but then you've got the industry specific ones in Rater Agents and All Agents. It could be that someone, sends you a message via Facebook or comments via Twitter, Instagram, and so on and so forth. Or perhaps someone's left you a negative or positive comment via a survey. Well, CX Manager or however you want to position yourself in a business, the logic for this is how you set yourself up to have eyes and ears covering all these different channels so you can pick up the communications that are driving into your organization. The final piece of the puzzle in regards to having a platform is how you bring all this together. How do you integrate this environment into your BAU, your business as usual sort of practices on a day-to-day basis? How do you bring it in with your CRM system? How do you tune into all of the different listing sites, whether it be Google, Facebook, Rater Agents, All Agents, as I've already mentioned? Second thing to point out on that, or the two middle pieces of the puzzle, if you like, is how do you take all of this unstructured feedback and drive insight into your organization so that everyone at every level in the business knows the job they're doing is a great job, and perhaps any areas of concern, things that can be improved on, insights are driven into your business so that you, I guess, as a leader of a business, as a manager of a business, as a manager of a certain department, has insight so that you can make data-driven decisions to continuously improve customer experience on that cycle. And then from our perspective, one of the things that we concentrate on and lots of our customers do, which I'm going to touch on shortly, is the reputation score. Again, essentially an easy way for the business to start to determine how it's perceived online, how it's performed, how you're performing in respect of your competition, and perhaps an easy score just to concentrate on, perhaps rather than many points. Now, I've mentioned it time and time again as part of this call. Managing your online reputation is not easy, especially when you're a multiple location business, a multiple branded organization. Then you start to consider how that brand and how that business is reflected across the online ecosystem. And we've called out many different brands on this one and partnerships that we've had to build over the last 10 years or so to put us as the market leader in this space. But again, this is just another, for the people on today's call, it's a consideration to think about all of these points of interaction with a customer and what you need to do to make sure that your foundations are set to ensure that your business is represented in the best possible way from a reputation perspective. Now, I wanted to take a moment just to touch on our reputation score. I mentioned it right off the bat. And again, this is just to get you to consider about all of the things that run in to managing the online reputation space. And I'll cover this off quickly before we get into the juicy stuff in regards to the best practices with managing your reputation online. So in regards to our patented technology, our reputation score, from our point of view, we see this and our customers see this as an indispensable index for every business. I referenced it and likened it to one of a credit score. And in trying to, measure and understand how your businesses is performing, we see this as the truest measure with all of our solutions that I've already touched on feeding into. And not only that, in the same way as a credit score, I guess, giving you the opportunity to see how you compare as a business to the industry average and what would be deemed as best in class, taking into consideration many different points of what is influence a customer as they gravitate towards your business, and not forgetting, as I mentioned right at the start of my point on this session, is to ensure that this is all driving towards what's going to give you a return on investment, ensuring that you're found more than what your competitors are, ensuring that you are chosen over the competition, and ensuring that you're endorsed time and time again and improve experience as customers continue to use your organization. Now, in respect to the reputation score and how it's being used today and why it's used so widely by our customer base, is that it makes it easy and it gives you as an organization the opportunity to measure, benchmark and diagnose where you are at and what it is that you need to do to improve your online reputation. Again, to impact and improve and optimize you in search and help you be found. So hopefully you can see from the screenshot that the algorithm concentrates on a number of key measures that are influencing and impacting search and consumer choice. And the example shown on the screen, you can see that the particular business in shot is deficient from a review volume point of view. So they need to increase the volume of reviews that they have online. And they need to increase the spread as well. And when we talk about spread, of course, if we think about your industry, a landlord or someone who's looking to purchase a property, they will probably be influenced by what appears straight away in search on Google. But of course, if they're making their biggest investment of their life, or they're entrusting you as a business with their lifetime investment, their property they're going to let out, then they're probably going to do their research and review spread. That's taken into consideration how your business is represented across many different important platforms across your industry. Now, from our perspective, the emphasis that's put on the reputation score, very much with property in mind today, four out of five of the largest property organisations globally are actually utilising, along with many other leading industries that take advantage of Reputation.com's services. In regards to return on investment, our score has very much formed part of key KPIs within these organisations. And in respect of property, with some of the case studies, and we've been in a fortunate position across all of these industries in having long-term relationships where we've been able to partner up with these organisations to really do a study and a key focus around what value managing the reputation score brought to the business. And that 10% in respect of property is reflective of the retention rate of customers. So whether it be a landlord, whether it be someone who sold a property coming back again and again, increases that by 10% for those businesses that achieve higher reputation scores in their business. Okay, so I'm now going to pause for a moment and just hand over to Dean Rapiso, who will take you through the latter part of what we've prepared today, which will hopefully help you walk away with some insight and some focus around best practices in managing this space.
Good morning, everybody. Just want to reiterate again, thank you to everyone for joining us. After Anthony's introduction, we're just going to walk through now some best practices in online reputation management. And the very first step in relation to this is take a look at what we would recommend at Reputation.com. And the way we do this is we look at our platform, we look at the modules available, and we think about a three-step program. The very first aspect of that is to organize that data. So look at where all your information lies online in respect of directories, reviews, listings, all of these kind of things, and then how Reputation.com looks to help you. So for that particular level, we have directories, which we'll look at in just a minute and talk around. We have listings, and we have KPI reporting. And having organized your data, naturally then it leads you to start to engage with your customers via these assets. So for that, you're looking at things like your online review platform. So all agents in your sector, Rater Agent, Google, of course, Facebook, all these different sites, first-party surveys again, and of course, everything that's coming in through social media, both inbound and outbound. And lastly, you're then looking to actually take that information and improve upon it. So that for many, many reasons, but the main one would be, of course, to look at how you can drive more customers into your business. So for that, you're looking at the insights, which will tell you what you're doing right and wrong, essentially, and what you can improve on. You're looking at tickets or CX management in respect of dealing with positive and negative information that exists online or internally for surveys. And then, of course, you're looking to make this accessible to everybody, everywhere within your organization, and simply so. So you're looking at mobile and actually using an app in respect of those. And by taking your time to go through these three steps, naturally, you'll start to improve your reputation online. And so we take a look at these things one by one, essentially. The first thing we'll look at in the first stage will be your listings. And the problem we see, and businesses who are enterprise and have many, many locations find, is how do you ensure that things are accurate at scale everywhere? So many, many search engines out there, the prime one being, of course, Google, but of course, then you've got Facebook, Bing, many, many other sites as well. So how do you ensure this is correct everywhere? And basically, it all starts with your website. So a listing for your website online, be that the main one, be that one of your specific locations. And then we look at following aspects such as Google and Apple Maps in this respect. And what we tend to find is that there's often discrepancies between the two and what exists online and what you've told Google and the search engines is correct. So you'll see here on this particular example, if we look at the website address, we have Monday to Thursday opening hours, 9 till 5:30. And then we have the representatives on Google on the left and Apple on the right. And we can see, just highlighted there are differences between the two. So where Reputation.com come into things is, not only can we help you improve the listings online and make sure that Google, Apple, Bing, Facebook, etc. are all absolutely correct and up to date, so you're not penalized for local SEO, but also through the directory service, we can help you maintain all of this information on all of the websites. So if you had something company-wide, for example, where you had an initiative where you might start to reduce hours on a Sunday or shift hours on a Saturday to open earlier, we can ensure that that's all maintained from the website. And then everything that exists online outside of your own control, we can actually make sure that that actually correlates with all of that, therefore improving all of your local SEO and Google rankings through that as well. In respect to best in class and some best practices, we're looking at now taking those listings and claiming them. So many listings that exist out there might not be claimed by you. You might not own them as a business. We're looking to build a single source of truth. So within our platform, you tell us, you tell our system, look, these are the aspects of information that are correct. This is our name, this is our address, our phone number, etc. We're looking then to give you an audit of how that compares to what exists online. So are there discrepancies with the opening hours, as we just saw? Is the website address slightly different? What about the phone number? All of these things that could lead to customers looking elsewhere when they're looking at you online against your competitors. And then we're looking to take that information, that source of truth that you tell us, and we're then looking to distribute that across all of these sites. So to Google, Facebook, Bing, etc., and push all of that information out there. And with directories, as I mentioned, your own website as well, and keep that up to date. So it's a two-way street. We audit what exists online, and then we can improve and correct any discrepancies as well versus this source of truth. In respect of the best in class and what we say, look, the step beyond that basic aspects of getting your data correct would be, our system allows you to analyze your listings performance. So look at where people are actually engaging with your listings online. Are they doing it via maps, via search? Are they looking for you directly, your brand name, category searches? You can just look at these trends over time. Are the listings and engagement with those listings increasing, decreasing, seasonality, etc.? And then compare all of these over time to previous periods. Also, scheduling these temporary hours as well. So Christmas time is fast approaching, believe it or not. But of course, you will have, I imagine, unique business opening hours for Christmas time. So rather than believing you have to go individually one by one to these native environments, you can add these temporary hours ahead of time in our platform, and they will then distribute out to all of these sites, ensuring that correct opening hours for these holiday season, etc., are always completely up to date. So it's taking the basic information and then looking at how you can improve that and making sure that everything is constantly managed through our platform as well. In respect of reviews then, the challenge that we see is that, as Anthony mentioned before, just the prevalence of online reviews for local SEO and also for shoppers, essentially, people looking to spend their hard-earned money. 80% of consumers check these online ratings, but managing them for multi-location businesses is very, very difficult. So I put on here just an example of a search, again, using someone in your industry. And you'll see here, whether or not I wish to look at reviews, I am seeing them anyway in a search. It's just testament to how highly Google value reviews online. You can see here with this particular search, all of these different sites appearing on page one, right at the very, very top. So Trustpilot all the way through to all agents. So as someone who's looking to engage and perhaps a landlord looking to lease my property, rent my property via you, I can then see instantly what people make of you in the online space. So it's essential, of course, that you look to control this and actually manage these reviews. And what tends to happen for a business of this size, for example, is that if we take those numbers, we're then looking at around 2,500 brand level reviews just from the search results on the left-hand side. If we go deeper, we're then looking at around 25 reviews locally for each location across Google, Facebook, Bing. So for this particular organization, you then straight away get to a huge number, 16,500 instances historically of customer feedback, and all of the testaments, all of the information they've added to those items of feedback as well, the whys and wherefores for them giving their rating. There's almost no chance you can analyze all of those and look to model your business and improve your business unless you've got something to help you do that. So for Reputation.com, we provide a review solution where we partner with all of these different sites. You'll see people like Rater Agent on there, All Agents, Google, and many, many others as well, and give you visibility of all of these, sliced and diced by all of your business levels, if you like, so down to location. You can have alerts at all levels of the business to react in real time. So every time a new review comes in, whether that's a particular sentiment, for example, or a particular review site, you can have an alert sent to the appropriate people so they can action that review, they can react to it, and they can respond to that review directly from the email as well, whether that's a central customer care team or whether it's the manager perhaps of the location itself. And when it comes to responding to these reviews, you'll see here we can also help you push out the message, if you like, of your business by having these personalized response templates in the platform. These are not canned responses. These are just a way to tell the system how to word the responses for just an intro and an outro, for example. So it always addresses and uses the person's name, for example, or will include a certain phone number or a certain email address to contact you on. So you're always ensuring the message is correct. And lastly then, to improve your reviews online, simply through our platform, we act as almost your email server in this respect, that you can request reviews from all of your customers at a point where in their journey where they have had something very, very emotional, purchasing a house, renting a property from you. You can ask them at that point, how was it? Rate us on these sites, or rate us on an internal survey, and actually influence those people to go and leave you a review. And we can do that a number of different ways, but we can also, and the most important way and best way to do it, is we can integrate with any internal systems you have as well to make this a seamless process. In respect to best in class and the next level up from that, if you like, you can also now create widgets from our platform. So widgets where you can drive the information to your own website or location pages as well, to showcase all of these reviews that you've got when people are looking at each location one by one, or for you as a brand. And you can actually also empower your frontline employees to interact with their customers on the go. So you can have the mobile device where we can request reviews directly via SMS, for example, or via email, whichever your preference will be, and engage people at that point in time. And then internally on the right-hand side there, you can see a leaderboard. So what we can do is we can gamify this for you as a business, and you can see who your top requesters are, which of those requesters have garnered the most reviews online, etc., and actually make that almost a competition internally at a location level or across a company as a whole. In respect of social, again, similar in regards to the size of a business and multi-location businesses, how do we use social? How do businesses use social to build communities and win customers? Often what we see are pages very similar to this, where there are issues. It looks good, it looks kind of pretty, if you like, there are pictures on there, etc. But if you then take a look at the instances of what they are posting, we can see it's repetitive, sporadic, they have a small sphere of influence, incomplete contact details, etc. So ideally, these will be improved upon. So in terms of the solution that we have, our platform there has a centralized view of all of your social profiles. You'll see there Facebook all the way through to Google, Instagram, etc. So you can track all of these things as we go. You can actually interact with all of your social profiles in one click. You can select all of these social sites, select which locations, countries, areas, whatever it might be that you have internally, and actually push a social post onto all of them in one go, in one click. And of course, you can advertise locally to a targeted audience using ads or boost individual posts direct from our platform to Facebook, etc. In regards to best in class, again, it comes down to the mobile app and what people are using it for in your industry. So empowering those location level managers, etc., to be able to look at social trends and location post interactions and how successful those posts are on the go, and then interact with them and make decisions for the business. And also internally, at a group perspective, you can add and manage multiple types of assets to influence and guide all of your locations in respect of content creation, and then track when those assets are used, how often they're used, and who is using them. So you might have internal news stories, pictures, whatever it might be, which you want to allow other locations or your locations to share and utilize. And this is where you can do that from the platform to ensure a seamless message is always sent. In respect of surveys for us, again, similar idea. Enterprise survey tools are quite unwieldy sometimes. They're complex, expensive, not optimized for location levels. So how do we actually utilize them in property? Well, our platform has a survey module which allows you to design and fully customize these surveys down to a location level, if you wish, down to customized questions, customized fields, specifying all aspects of survey design. So it could be down to font, it could be down to CSS style, whatever it might be, but then allows you to solicit feedback via traditional emails or SMS, and then get all of your metrics at a glance within the platform, so you can see how successful or not each survey is, and then all of the feedback, utilizing that to improve as a business. In respect of best in class then, is taking that information and segmenting it across different variables internally. So allowing you then to see and slice and dice that information by time period, demographic, gender, location, just to look at and see how we can actually identify the root causes and how we can address them in relation to our business and best practices moving forward. And then you can actually customize these scores based on groupings of questions. So you could say, I want to see what people answered to question 3 if they gave us a 4 or 5 star rating in the very first question, for example. So again, just really drilling into the nitty gritty, if you like, of all of this and using it to improve. And then you can take that information and you can boost all of this online. So this is where we can now feed into your own domain, your own website. This is one example just here. What we do is via the widgets, we can stream this data, this survey information, all these scores to your own website, which via our relationship with Google, etc., and via the code that we have, allows you then to showcase all of these stars underneath your meta tag. Whether that be at a locational level or at a brand level. So improving your search engine rankings through all of these ratings and reviews, as well as learning from them in the first analysis part. In respects of tickets and customer experience, again, it's looking at how do you efficiently actually take all of these issues, these negatives or these positives, and actually then work with them on internally at all levels of the business and ensure that the customer cycle is complete. So again, looking at this graphic just here, you'll see at the top line, multitude of different people. They can give you feedback online, offline. They could do it by review sites, social, surveys. They could even pop in and write something. They could drop a letter in or wherever it might be as well. So how do you actually take all of that information and ensure it's actioned and resolved appropriately as well? So we have a ticket solution or a CX solution in the platform where any of these instances actually comes through. So a review, for example, a survey, we can action these things to appear to the right person at the right time, to say, look, you've had a new piece of feedback. What would you like to do with it? How would you like to action it? We can then have rule-based tickets and workflow stemming off those. So if a ticket isn't answered within a certain amount of time, for example, it then goes to a different person or a reminder is set. And at all levels, you'll be able to see a full audit trail of the complaint, of the issue, who dealt with it, when, and what actions and steps were taken to ensure resolution. In respect of that, again, you'll see here, all of this is about collaboration, I should say, sorry, throughout the business, where you can take these and ensure that they are parked within the right place. So the notion of queues, whether it be this review is about administration, car park, management, whatever it might actually be, and then respond to that appropriately to ensure resolution. In respect to best in class and the next level, then once you've actually got all of these tickets set up, is to understand how well or not you are performing at a glance. Are you answering these tickets on time? What percentage of your tickets are overdue, or how many are responded to in total as well? And again, like throughout the rest of our platform for reviews and surveys, etc., you can slice this by various different aspects: queue, source, location, date range, whatever it might actually be. And then drilling into it, another way is to look at how efficiently your team or individuals are utilizing the tickets module. So you can see who opened the tickets and when, how long they, on average, they take to actually close a ticket, percentage closed on time, etc. To then ensure that everyone is pulling their weight effectively and addressing these issues appropriately. In respect of analysing this data, so looking at all this feedback, all these words, all these terms, these sentences people are used, how do you take that and then utilise it to optimise experience and boost revenue? When you've got all these different sites, all these different ways of people leaving feedback, how do you then get it online? How do you improve star ratings? How do you turn that into ROI, essentially? So for our analytics solution, we have a number of different ways you can do this. The first one is the reputation score we looked at briefly with Anthony before, where you can take a look at where you're falling short at all levels of the business, what needs to be improved, and conversely, of course, what you are doing well. Secondly, we can then drill into a customer sentiment map, which is all industry specific, and take a look at the size and proportionality of different categories associated with your industry and how often people are talking about them. And then crucially, what scores they are leaving each particular sentiment. And this again can be sliced and diced across all different aspects of your business, so you can address these appropriately. And finally, you can also have competitor insights, where you can take your brand or you can take individual locations and then compare them against other brands that you feel would be your competition, or at location levels, you can take that and say, I want to see the 3 closest locations to me geographically and how they compare to me for reputation score, review score, sentiment, proportionality, review numbers, etc. So again, looking to improve above and beyond the competition. In respect to best in class, then, what we can do as well is we can separate this out between the voice of the employee and the voice of the customer. So there are review sites out there such as Indeed, Glassdoor, etc., which are employee focused. The majority of the review sites that exist are customer focused. So our system allows you to separate out the two and address things internally and externally as well in respect of improving reputation online. And you can also gain key awareness into these topics and look at the impact each of these topics is having on your review scores and therefore your online reputation. So we can see, you can compare this against affordable housing, responsiveness, etc., how that compares to the industry, the volume of these, and then the impact that will have on your reviews, and then some extracts as well from those to gain insight and understanding. And then finally, for reporting, just here again, same idea. So taking all of that information that we had before, how do we then segment that across our organisation and showcase what individual managers, regions need to do to improve things. So our reporting solution, going right back to what Anthony talked about at the start here, allows you to learn, take all of that information. You can create your own custom reports within our platform to give you the key information you need at any point in time. You can then inform and share that feedback automatically across your organisation to get the right eyeballs on it at the right time. And then use our tools in the platform to improve the reputation score is a great idea as well, to see how key dimensions are performing strongly and which ones down to a location level may need improving as well. And then the best in class for reporting there, when we send out reports, users don't even have to log into our platform to see these things. You can log in to view an interactive report and change a date range, for example, if someone was interested, or you can simply click a view report option from these reports that are sent out and actually view it within your native environment and your laptop or your mobile phone, for example. And reports can be automatically distributed to employees and peers as well. So you don't have to worry about going in on a certain day and distributing these. We can set it, or you can set it. So these reports are sent weekly on a Friday to certain people, and people will only ever see the information that they are able to see. So a manager of a location, for example, would only ever see information about that location they manage, whereas an area manager might see information about every single location that exists within their geographical area. That's automatically set. So I'm going to hand back now to Anthony, just in relation to summarise where we've been and just bring that all together into one last slide.
Thanks, Dean. Hopefully everyone found that informative, and it gives you something to take away and consider as to how you start to manage this space. So I guess to summarise the presentation today and the space for which we're talking about, we've spoke a lot about search and how your business is being represented from an online point of view. Now, without doubt, everyone on today's call will have a marketing spend. There will be a budget allocated to driving consumers towards your organisation. Now, in respect of reputation and the way in which you manage that and how your business is represented, that is the gateway to you realising the revenue from the spend that you've put into driving those consumers. And it will either impede or it will improve customer acquisition. Plain and simple, in respect to Star Average, how your business is perceived from a social perspective, so on and so forth. So it's critically important that you take stock of this space and start to understand the way in which you might be able to manage it to best advantage your business. In respect of what I started with right off the bat in regards to what we help and what we deem to be important, first and foremost, the optimization of search, so how your business appears and appearing over the competition, to ensure that your business is found more often than not, and being chosen in that environment, so winning customers over the competition. And then finally, how you're endorsed, how you continuously have plans in place to solicit feedback so that you can improve customer experience, and that virtuous cycle continues. Now, I think we've come right up on our allotted time for this. I'm peering across the room at Chris, and I think the next step is just to take any questions, for which I think we've had a number of questions, which I'm happy to take.
Yeah, thanks, Anthony. So we're pretty much bang on 45 minutes now, but we did start a couple of minutes late, so there are time for one or two. We've already had one come in. This question says, our agency network currently collect feedback solely through all agents. What benefits would we see by extending this to other review sites, and which ones should we focus on? The person who asked the question doesn't say whether that question is posed more towards Anthony or Dean.
That's fine. I can take it. It's Anthony speaking. I guess it's a bit of a broad question. Anyway, clearly All Agents is an industry-specific site, and we would suggest all sites where your business has got a reflection or is a representation of the brand and the business that you are is important to manage. But hopefully, with what we've presented today, the message is clear that any customer could land in a number of different places whilst trying to make a decision on your organization and whether to choose your services or not. If we take stock of probably what we would suggest are the most important, then the starting point would be Google and Facebook, without a doubt. But that doesn't mean to say that All Agents is not important. It is. I guess our methodology or the message that we would pose out to anyone that's looking to manage this space better is you need to find a way to take stock of wherever your business is represented and focus on all of them if you can.
Okay, what we'll do is then we're having a few questions come in. We'll overrun by 2 or 3 minutes, and I'll just put ourselves on mute just so there's no background noise. We'll wait for a few more questions to come in, and then we'll look to end in a few minutes' time. Because we've slightly overrun, if you can't stay with us any longer, then we'd just like to say a really big thank you for joining us today. And just be aware that we'll aim to get a full recording of the session out for you tomorrow, and that recording will include this Q&A session. But I'll just put ourselves on mute and we'll wait for a question or two to come in. Okay, so we've had a couple more questions come in. This next one says, can we manage the online reputation of different brands within the same platform? And I'll pose that one to Dean.
Yep, great question. And one we get asked for a lot in respect of, can you actually take the data, these online reviews that exist across all of these different sites, and then pop them into our platform, but split into your different brands? The answer is absolutely yes. When you set up our platform, you can instruct us to add some custom filters which will apply to all of the locations that we then upload. One of those filters, of course, can be as simple as being named brand or sub-brand or whatever it might be. And then we can attribute each of the locations to whichever brand you have. All of that data will pull into the platform. We can then segment access to that information appropriately across your organization. So for example, if a marketing executive associated with just company one, they would only have access to that particular company's data. Someone else internally might have access to both companies, and so their access will be appropriate for them as well in that respect. So not a problem to do that at all, nice and straightforward.
Okay, let's answer one more because we're conscious of time. We'll choose this one. So we've had, I've noticed on some companies' websites, star ratings are showing in their Google search results. How can we also do this?
Perfect. So this is actually key for local SEO, and it's one of the most driving factors in respect of showcasing your locations high up in the local search pack. So in respect of showing your star ratings in the Google search results, absolutely we can do that for you. There was an example that I walked through just a little earlier, and that is just for us to stream the data that is gathered via our first party surveys directly through to you to then add to your website information. Google then picks that up and actually views you to be a review site online. By doing that, actually what happens is they will then attribute the stars to your meta tag underneath that meta tag, which are then carried in every single search that results in Google. Whether that's a service search, whether it's for brand, whether it's for location, those stars will carry through. Adds again a lot of juice to local SEO as well in respect of boosting you and your locations in local snack packs and search results. So we can absolutely do it. It's very straightforward to do so. Let's just have a conversation if you wish to engage with Reputation.com about exactly how we can do it for you and your business.
Okay, thanks, Dean. I think, to be honest, that's pretty much it for questions. We've been absolutely inundated. We don't have time, unfortunately, to answer them all. If we didn't get to your question, we do apologise, but at the bottom of the screen now, you can see the office contact email and a telephone number if you'd like to get in touch. We'd just like to say at this point, thank you very much for everybody for registering and attending today's webinar. We really appreciate everybody taking time out of the day to join us, and we hope you found it useful. So all that's left to say is thank you again, and goodbye from myself, Anthony, and Dean.